Good morning, dear student. In previous lecture, we studied detail about the different centrifugation technique. We also saw one of its type, that is the ultracentrifugation technique, and we saw detail about it. Today we are going to study another type of centrifugation technique, that is refrigerated centrifugation. Refrigerated centrifugation is same type of centrifugation with little modification, but there was no much detail or much theory was available on net, so I find very less matter related to refrigerated centrifugation technique. There is no much detail available, and only thing you need to study this technique because this is mentioned in your syllabus, so you need to study. So we will go through about this refrigerated centrifugation technique. I hope you have gone through the previous centrifugation technique, which if you have gone through, then this part will be easier for you. Refrigerated centrifugation work on the concept of sedimentation principle by holding up the sample tube with capacity of 2 ml, 10 ml and 50 ml in rotation around the fixed axis. So these three test tube, that is 2 ml, 10 ml and 50 ml, is kept in the centrifugation machine, and it is rotated around a fixed axis, means the central axis is fixed and they are rotated around it. In this, the centripetal force caused the denser substance to separate out along with the radial direction in the bottom of the centrifuge, and whatever the particle which we need to separate in this test tube, and the particle which have higher molecular weight or higher mass or higher density will settle down. We all know about that. About this is the basic of centrifugation technique, that is the denser material settle down and the lighter material float slightly upward. The rate of centrifugation is calculated by the acceleration applied to the sample, and it is typically measured in the revolution per minute or relative centrifugation per force. So basically it is measured in the revolution per minute, means how many times these tubes are get revolved per minute, and the particular calculation or particular formula for that. So you don't need to study in detail, just you need to know that um, the rate is calculated by acceleration by the revolution per minute. The particle settling the particle settling velocity during the centrifugation depend on the function of their size and shape. Centrifugal acceleration, the volume fraction of solid present, the density difference between the particle and the liquid, and the viscosity. And these all factor determine the rate of sedimentation. Which are the factor? Like the function of the size and shape of the particle. Centrifugation acceleration means at what speed it is get accelerated. The volume of the fraction of solid present, what is the volume of the solid substance present in that solution, and the density difference between the particle and the liquid, and the viscosity. These all are the factors on which the rate of centrifugation depends. This equi These equipment are extensively used in chemistry, biology, biochemistry for isolating, separating suspension. It additionally provides the cooling mechanism to maintain the uniform temperature throughout the operation of the sample. And the main factor why it is called refrigerated centrifugation, because this all centrifugation process is done inside a cooling chamber, means inside a refrigerator. So the name is given as refrigerated centrifugation. So this was the basic and some simple phenomena related to refrigerated centrifugation, and only this much is available, and you only need to know only this much about refrigerated centrifugation. This is the machine of refrigerated centrifugation. Here we can set temperature, its rotation time, its revolution time, and accordingly we will get our sample separated, and it should be done in a cool temperature, in means basically at a very low temperature. So it is called as refrigerated centrifugation. So we saw general principle of centrifugation. We saw two main type of centrifugation, that is the ultra centrifugation and the refrigerated centrifugation. Now we will see some of its application, means where it is used, means all the different type of centrifugation technique where it is used, its applications. uh, Separation of solid substance from highly concentrated suspension. So, suppose a solution have highly suspended, means totally mixed substance which we cannot separate. So by using different centrifugation technique, we can separate our solid substance from our suspension culture. Separation of heavy particle and large size grain by centrifugation. And even heavy particle or large size grain can be separated by using high, means much higher type of centrifugation technique. So we can separate the smallest type of particle, and even we can separate the largest and heavy particle by using different centrifugation technique. Separation of oily suspension. If two oils are intermixed, then it is very difficult to separate each particle of this oil. But by using different centrifugation technique like ultra centrifugation, gravity centrifugation, and simple other type of centrifugation, we can separate different type of oily suspension. Separating chalk powder from water. Suppose you have mixed some chalk powder in water. So by simple separating, we cannot separate this suspension. But by using centrifugal technique, we can easily separate powder from water. Removing fat from milk to produce skimmed milk. You must have heard the skim milk. What they actually do, they remove the fat part from milk. You must be knowing that fat is not essential or not desirable for better growth and development. So that fat is removed from milk, and that milk is delivered to home, different shops and homes. So that is called skimmed milk. And how they prepare, by using this centrifugation technique. By using this centrifugation technique, they just remove the fat part from milk, and they supply that simple milk to home to home. Separating textile. In textile industry, they also use this centrifugation technique. Removing water from lettuce after washing it is with salad spinner. So this is the simple technique, means if water is removed from the lettuce after washing it, salad spinner, here also centrifugation technique can be used. Separating particle from airflow using cyclonic separation. So even a tiny air particle can be separated by using centrifugation, and one of the centrifugation is known as cyclonic separation, that is for separating the air particle. So these are the some of the application about the centrifugation technique. Now we will see some of the advantages and disadvantages of centrifugation technique. First we will list some of the advantages, then we will go through the disadvantages of centrifugation technique. Advantages: centrifuges have a clean appearance and have little or no odor problem. If we use other separation technique, then it may have some odor, means smell problem or other texture related problem. But if we use centrifugation technique, then there will be no problem related to odor, texture or smell or anything. You will get pure separation of two type of particle. Not only the device easy to install and fast at starting up and shutting down, but also only require a small area for operation. So this centrifugation machine which we use for separation of different type of particle, it is very easy to install, and it do not require a large area. Also we can install in very small place, and it is very easy to install, and even a student can operate it. It's not very difficult that you need only technician to operate it, but only you should know it's how it works, then even you can operate it. So there is no much operating problem related to this technique. They can be selected for different application, means there we just now we have gone through different type of applications. So this centrifugation technique can be used for different type. We can use to separate air particle, we can use to separate what liquid particle, we can use to separate the solid particle, we can separate the smallest particle, we can separate the largest particle. So it has very diverse application. The machine can be operated with higher capacity than smaller machine, and um, within one machine we can separate different types of particle, means with higher capacity. Not only, you don't have only to use only two test tube to separate, no, you can use 10 to 20, means depending on its capacity you can separate different amount of particle. You don't have to restrict that you have to separate only one test tube or two test tube, no, depending on its capacity you can separate very large amount of particle also. The device is simple to operate. I have explained because you all student also can operate it, and centrifuge is has more process flexibility and higher level of performance. So it is very flexible to use, anyone can use it, and it its performance is very high, means if you wanted to separate particle, means any liquid or anything today, then only today only you can separate, and it do not take much time also. Only in 5 to 10 minutes you can separate your culture or your particles. So these are the some of the advantages. Now we will see some of its disadvantages. The machine can be very noisy and can cause vibration. This may be one of the problem, because when we use this centrifugation technique in a lab, it means when we start it and connect it to electricity, it create a big noise, and mm, this is little irritating, like, means you cannot sit peacefully at that place, because the noise is very louder. So this is one of its disadvantage. The device has high energy consumption due to high G-force. Even this device, if we connect it to electricity, the consumption rate is very high. Means it consumes very high amount of electricity. So if the connection is very low, or electricity supply is not proper, then this machine might not work. So it require a very high amount of electricity, and its consumption rate is very high. And the decenter centrifuge has high equipment capacity, capital cost, and even the cost of installation is high. So you need to invest high, means much more money to install. Means if you are using simple centrifugation machine also, that also cost very high. So you need to invest money for installation. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of centrifugation technique. We are done with the centrifugation technique. From next lecture, that is on Saturday, I will start with the thin layer chromatography, and one more technique is um, remaining, that is I will cover on that Saturday. So I covered the first microscopy technique and centrifugation technique. So done with two types of technique, and remaining I will do on Saturday. Thank you. Bye.